Here we are again, up in the attic, up and running. Hopefully everything will go without a hitch this time. So firstly, computer. So if you follow me on Facebook, you'll be well aware I've been having major computer disasters, one after another. My actual PC has died. A little while ago, a few of you said you kindly offered to sort of get involved with maybe supporting this a bit. And that ended up with the add a buy me a beer button on the website below. Some of that might have to be appropriated in computer repairs or replacement. I'm going to see how that goes, because I don't think it's ever going to breathe again. But Harry's one is up and working. I've transferred all the files over. I've had loads of advice, so thank you to everyone who's given me usable advice on various IT matters. I've had loads of help on that. I'm getting quite good at it. Might get a job in IT when all this is over. Who knows? So yeah, thank you all, and let's carry on. Back to Wraysbury. So after my capture of the short fat linear and the Hoover, packed up my home, like I said, and the weather weren't all that really for the next 2 or 3 days or whatever. So I've got a little bit of working. And then it was forecast to brighten right up and warm right up again, so I was straight back down there, probably home for about 3 days. Got back down the lake, absolutely beautiful morning, red hot. I knew it was, if they were going to go back in Sunnymeads after their little surprise, then this was going to be the day. I turned up and there was 2 cars there. There was Tench bloke, and there was a guy we called the Doctor. A few of you might know him, fished around the circuit a bit. I sort of knew Tench bloke wouldn't be in. He might be in Sunnymeads looking, but I knew we had plenty of room. We weren't doing the swim jumping thing. I knew he'd sort of leave it, but I wasn't sure about the Doctor. If you look in there and you see fish, you're going to go for them. So I was a little bit nervous. Anyway, I was parked by the NatWest Sailing Club, sort of next to the off licence. There's a little lay-by there. It was proper dodgy to leave your gear there in the car. So I parked up, got my gear out, got the dog, just walking. You sort of go through a gate across the Sailing Club lawn, and you're looking straight at the lake. So you're going down this little lawn, and there's a lake in front of you. Sunnymeads is right up to the left. And like I've said before, you can't see the swim from anywhere until you're almost in it. Anyway, I'm halfway across the lawn, and the Doctor's walking along the lake, gone past a swim we called the Turfs, I think, with a couple of little bits of tackle. And I thought, oh shit, I'm just behind him. He didn't have much with him, so I assume he was already somewhere and he'd gone for a walk round. Anyway, he walked round in front of me. I thought, bugger, if he climbs that tree in the corner and the fish are there, then I'm not getting on him. So I sort of hung back. I didn't want to speak to him and get involved or anything. He didn't see me, so I sort of let him go. I wandered down there with my kit, kept the dog back with me, and sort of stayed behind and so I'm about 100 yards, 50, 60, 100 yards, whatever behind him, just out of sight. Sort of followed him down. I've seen him go round the corner into Sunnymeads, so I've waited a moment. And then I've seen him go past the bus stop. The bus stop's right next to Sunnymeads. There's only 2 swims on that bank. And he's just gone off. Didn't even look in the corner. Happy days. So I've gone round there, dropped my gear, gone up the tree, got halfway up the tree. I can see them straight away. They're only just below the surface. Whereas before, I said it's about 4 foot and then it drops off sort of 5, 6 and away. Before they were on near the bottom, but this time there was fish right a couple of inches under the surface, just milling about. So I've got sort of behind the limb of the tree, got myself in a decent position to look. I looked down there and they're different fish. I can see straight away it's a different group of fish, and one of them's really big fish, like 40 pounder. So proper excited. I'm looking down there trying to figure out which ones are which, and because they're so close to the surface and it's so clear, I can see every mark on them. Anyway, this bigger fish has turned around, and I've seen it's got a little bit of a slight twisty mouth and deep and sort of round shaped fish. Straight away I thought that's Olive. There was a carp in Wraysbury then called Olive that Chris Ball had caught way back at 20 something pounds, but it had been growing and growing. It was a real rare one. I'm not actually sure if it had if it had actually come out again since. I don't think it ever. I think crest balls might have been the only capture. I'm not 100%. You know, I don't know everything that had happened there, but as far as I know, that's true. Anyway, it certainly hadn't been caught at this weight, and it hadn't been caught for a long time, and it was right there, you know. And the more I looked, the more I thought, yeah, that's definitely olive. And I think there was 3 other fish with it. Can't remember what they were, but you know, I was so transfixed on this one. And the more I looked at them, again, I thought I'd take my time. They're there anyway. They don't know I'm here. They probably don't know that, you know, there is no close season yet, this particular group of fish. I'll take my time, figure out a plan of attack. And the more I watched them going round and sort of just tilting up and looking at the surface and that, I thought they look bang up for a floater. They really do look bang up for a floater. So I slid down the tree nice and quiet. I've got my gear the other side of the dog walker's path. Rummaged through, found a little bag of chum mixers. You know, fat Sam's like this, all over me as soon as I've opened them. So I fed her. I think I threw a few up the path just to get her out of the way. Put a little pouch full, catapult full, and like, from right back by the path, pinged a few out, only a few at a time, didn't want to make too much disturbance, pinged a few out and then another couple, and then climbed up the tree just to watch and see exactly how they were going to sort of react to bait, but I was pretty confident they were going to be straight on it. It didn't take long for them to get on it, moments really. One of the smaller odd ones, one of the 20s came up and snaffled a couple. And within a minute or so, they were all having a go. You could tell Olive straight away. You know, I knew even from the ground I'd be able to tell which one was Olive because she had this little twisted mouth. And every time she took a biscuit off the surface, she'd squirt a little bit of air out at the same time. So you'd get this little puff of bubbles that come out. Every time she took one, it left like a mini froth on the surface, whereas the others were taking them really cleanly. So I came sliding down the tree, went back to my kit. Rummaged around, see what I could find, and I'd made like during the winter when I was bored, I'd got some Wraysbury sticks. Now, I've said before, it was a bit of a thing to make everything out of Wraysbury sticks. Obviously, my back rod rests were Wraysbury sticks. My storm rods for my brolly, they were Wraysbury sticks, and we used to make these tea mugs, mug holders. Mug holders, we called them, but they were everything holders. They were like a tackle organiser. So basically you've got a stick yay long with a few ones coming off the side, and you trim them down into hooks, and we used to push them in front of the bivvy, and you'd hang your tea mug, that's where I was going, you'd hang your tea mug on there and your catapult and your head torch and whatever, you know, it's just like a tackle tidy, natural tackle tidy. But I'd also got these lengths of Wraysbury stick, and I drilled them straight through the centre. Can't remember how I got a drill all the way. So I think I actually banged one of the aluminium monkey climber needles right through the middle. Anyway, I made a hole right through the middle of this chunky stick, about, I don't know, 8 inches long, whatever, round. And I glued a piece of stiff anti-tangle tubing in there. So these were going to be my controllers. I couldn't wait to use one because it's perfect, you know, perfect natural controller. I just slid that on the line, a bead, a swivel, long light hook link, little tiny hook, and a single mixer. So I've gone down there, got into position. It was quite heavy, heavier than I thought it was going to be once it was on the rod, this controller. I didn't know what it was going to cast like either, so I got down there and I can see them still taking, fired out a few more. I sort of swung it back, I'm down under the branch of this tree, giving it a flick like that, but because it's heavier, it left the rod later than I thought. It just went straight up into the branch above me. I was like, oh, for God's sakes. I yanked it back down, gone back, calmed down a little bit, got my breath, made sure everything, tested everything, you know, all perfect. Fired it back out there again. And as it flew out, I was expecting it to just go where I wanted it to go, but because it was this odd shape, it actually cast like a bag of spanners, to be honest. And it went out and it flew off to the right, I think it was. It sort of bent off out the back, but it went far enough that it cleared the fish, so they weren't worried about the splash. So I waited, let it calm down, flicked the line over, and then slowly teased it back into position. And I can see by now, you know, the humps are coming right out. They're proper one in these mixers. Put a few more out. And obviously I'm trying to get next to the hump that's got the bubbles. I want Olive. If I'm going to hook one of them, Olive's the one I want. So they're feeding quite confidently, and I've tweaked it in, and I've sort of gauged her path, if you like, and stopped. And she's gone down, come up, taken a couple of random ones, and then its back's come up, and it's just bow waved straight at my bait. You know, it's seen it, it wants it, it's game on. I'm going to catch her, I'm going to hook her. So I'm there and I'm trembling and I'm sort of waiting. And like I say, this bow wave, big old dark, it's got like a purpley black hump. It's out the water and it's coming straight towards it. And it's done no more than go straight up to the controller. She's opened her mouth and gone chonk and taken it, bang smack in the middle with a chunk of wood. Yeah, the bait's still 18 inches away. Taken this chunk of wood and surged forward, and of course it's sideways on, so it's pushing quite a plume of water over the top of this stick. Surged forward and then let go and then gone back down. And I'm like, what the bloody, what is going on? Like, you know, you get them occasionally take controllers, but it's almost like it's attacked this piece of Wraysbury stick. It was the most bizarre thing I'd ever seen. And then she circled round again and came up. She came up the second time and lifted it on the back of her head, put her head underneath the stick and tilted up in the water and actually lifted the stick almost clear of the water, and then has come down again. Like, she was definitely testing it to see what the hell it was. I say the bait's just there, had no interest in the bait at all. All her concentration was on this bloody stick. After that, they sort of went off the boil a bit with the floaters. I think she'd obviously sussed me and spooked the others as well. They didn't go, but they just sort of milled about and drifted off and drifted back. I'd put a couple of bottom baits out from the tree, as in freebies. They didn't really show a lot of interest in that. And throughout the day, they sort of dwindled off a little bit, but it was really still quite nice and warm. I was confident that, you know, even if they went, they'd be back the next morning. So when they eventually did drift off, I decided to set all the traps perfectly, you know, up the tree, lowering them down on the spots. I was fishing hemp on it. I was actually fishing one right under the tree. The bottom was changing very quickly. The weed was growing quite a lot, and there was a lovely clear spot, the original spot where the other fish was sort of getting a bit choddy. But closer in under the tree, there was a beautiful little natural clear spot. So I covered it in hemp and about 4 or 5 boilies, a couple broken ones, put a rig on that. And just had one close in off to the right there on another area that looked half decent. Sure enough, the next morning they came back, but they came back in on the surface again. And I remember trying the floaters. I thought, you know, give it a go. I know they were taking them yesterday, and they started taking them straight away. Olive was there again. And once again, she took the stick, not quite as savagely this time, but came up and sort of knocked the stick a couple of times and then went back down and looked a bit agitated. So I thought, sod the stick, sod the floater fishing. I'm going to bring that in. I'm just going to sit back, leave the rigs on the bottom, and just ignore it, you know, let them get comfortable again, let them get settled in there and see how it's, you know, hopefully, so it's only 4 foot deep. At some stage, they're going to tilt up, they're going to feed. So that was my plan. Everything was in place. Fish was in the swim. Sat back as far as I could, drinking tea, smoking fags, trembling, thinking it's going to go, it's going to go, it's going to go. But there's only so long you can not look when you've got a tree that you can climb and you can see your hook baits. You have to look, don't you? So after a period of time, I've gone back, shinned up this little tree, and from the tree, my close spot is now right there, you know, right literally there. So I've sat up there watching, and one of the other fish has come. It's the same group, this fish. One of the other group, the numbers of the group has come in, a 20-pounder, sort of milled over, not fed, just sort of ghosted over the spot and turned. Another one's come in, then Olive's come in. She's come in. I've seen her as clear as day, right in front of me. She's come in like that, over the spot and stopped. So I can't see the spot. The spot's sort of below her. Can't see me rig. But I can see her gills going. All her fins are out. And I was thinking maybe she's seen the rig and she's spooked or whatever. But I could see her gills pumping, proper pumping, and her mouth going. So I've sort of put my head around the other side of the tree to get a better angle. And I can see the hemp coming up off the spot. It must have been coming up a foot off the spot. She's sucking it from a foot above the spot. Everything's standing up, all the little bits of weed are standing up, and the hemp's just leaving the bottom and going up into her gob, and she's crunching away on it. The boilies aren't even moving, not a twitch. And I thought, you crafty cow, what an amazing way to feed. You're never going to get hooked like that, especially as this was sort of pre-wafter days. So she's given it that for a few mouthfuls, crunch, 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 and then she's turned, dived into the spot, just gone straight down on her flank and flanked right across the spot. She knew it was a trap, at 100% knew it was a trap. Flanked across the spot, right in front of me, big silt and shit come up, and then she's bow waved off out of the swim. She's got about, 5 or 6 rod lengths, and come up out the water, like that, and then just soared off across the surface. And I never saw that fish again. I fished that lake for another 2 whole seasons. I never, ever saw that carp again. That was the only time I'd ever seen her. 1 sighting, 2 days running, so 2 sightings. What a crafty fish, and it rarely got seen by anybody. And it never got caught, and it was never caught from that day onwards either. And I'm not surprised, having watched it feed, I'd be amazed if anyone did catch it, to be honest. So a day or so after the near miss with Olive, I don't think I had any chance whatsoever, to be honest. But the weather changed really badly for the worse. This huge low pressure system came in, and it stayed for weeks. I mean, weeks. It was windy, it was wet. I mean, it was really windy. It really wasn't a very nice, it shaped up so well with the 2 hot spells when I was down in Sunnymeads. It was a bit of a shock, I thought summer was here. I had shorts and t-shirt, I was ready to go. But no, this weather system moved in, and we just fished it out in the middle, fished the mains like you would sort of, winter or autumn type fishing really. We weren't finding them in the edge, weren't finding them anywhere, to be honest. And I started using the shootist boat a lot now. And it was such an edge, it didn't provide me to start with any fish, but it made fishing so much easier. I'd pull up in the Route Nightmare, Douglas Lane, walk along to his house, grab the boat, drag it out, load it full of my gear, chuck the dog in there, and off I'd go, just paddling around the lake. And I learned a lot about the lake as well. It was still, although the weather was shit, through a mask you could still see a lot. I used to always carry a little diving mask with me and just hang my head over the side. And you could see all the bottom, you could see the bars. I was really learning all the features of the lake and which way the bars travelled, where the plateaus, there was loads of little plateaus in Wraysbury, all over the place, and the shelves on the islands. It was absolutely stuffed with features. It's one thing learning the features when you're out in a boat. It's another thing marking them properly from when you're in the swim. It's very deceptive, especially if you go out of range. If you're out over 100 yards, say, and you're looking over and you find a feature, you think, I'll fish that. And then you go back to the swim, get your rod, get your bait or whatever. You try finding it again, it's almost impossible. Obviously you've got H blocks and stuff like that. We never had any H blocks, and even today I do quite a lot of boat fishing. I can't stand H blocks. I hate them. Bloody great big ridiculous things that, and if a fish goes through them, you've got that bit of crab line hanging down from and a big old weight. So it's always going to cause problems, and they look awful. You see people sat in a swim, everything else looks beautiful, and they've got 3 dirty great big bright orange polystyrene H blocks out there. I think they're hideous. Nowadays I use canes, like garden canes, painted green with some line and a lead at the bottom. So if a fish goes through them, they fold over, the line comes off, and then they stand back up. So they don't move off your spot and they don't snag the fish. But I hadn't thought of those back then. But we came up with a perfect solution, or I came up with a perfect solution. On our little walk round, I've said many times about our little wanders round and our stop-off points, the off-licence, the news agents for the Tangle Twister ice creams. Well, what I haven't mentioned yet is and it only really came about on this second year, we got right into Kinder eggs. You know, Kinder Surprise or Kinder eggs. Little kids' sweet egg things, little chocolate eggs. Come in a gold wrapper or whatever. You unwrap them. We used to buy, whoever went to the shops would buy one for all of our little crew that were on there. So Phil, when he'd come back with like one for me, one for Tench Bloke, one for Jacko, you know, whoever was about, he'd come back with the right amount of Kinder eggs. So you open up the egg and it's this chocolate egg, and the chocolate is disgusting. You break open the chocolate, and inside is a little egg-shaped container. I've actually found a photo on the internet of them. It's this little plastic egg-shaped container, and you open that up, and inside you get a toy. Now, it was always a gamble what sort of a toy you were going to get. The ultimate was a puzzle, or something you had to put together, because it would keep you occupied for a little while. And we decided they were like the top prize. If you got something that was made of a few parts and a little tiny, badly translated from Chinese instruction manual to build something, you know, and it used to take about a minute, but you'd build something. That was top tier. The next tier down were the click together plastic toys, like a duck or whatever. And if it floated, if it was a boat or a duck or anything that floated, even better. That was almost tier 1, because you could put it in the water, obviously, and set it off across the lake. So that was like something worth having. And then there was various other levels, and the bottom tier, the worst of the lot, was the Hun. Now, I've managed to get a photo of one of these as well. I don't know how well it will come out because it's only a tiny photo. But they were a die cast, which is, I think, like a moulded sort of metal, I think they were. Little tiny Hun, which is I believe a Hun is either a First World War soldier or some pre-First World War. Anyway, so it was a little action figure of a soldier of some description that are called Huns. And on the base plate, it had Hun 1, 2, 3 or 4. And they did nothing. They did absolutely nothing. They were totally useless. If you opened your Kinder Egg and a Hun dropped out, you were like, oh God, it's just, you know, there's nothing. You can't do anything with it. Just put it on your bivvy table or throw it in the pond. Now, I briefly mentioned a few episodes a couple of guys that fished there were Alan and Phil. I still speak to Alan now. Whenever they were there, they were in on it as well. They'd get bought a Kinder Egg, or if they went, they'd buy the Kinder Eggs. Now, Al always got the Hun. It never got anything else apart from the Hun. Every time he'd open, even if you jumbled them all up and he'd pick one at random, he'd always get the Hun. So his nickname from that sort of period onwards was the Hun. And still is, to be honest. If he messages me now, he always signs it the Hun. So if you hear of somebody being referred to as the Hun, it's not because he was a bit of a honey, it's because he used to get these stupid little die-cast models. But where was I going with this? Markers. So the blue, in the picture I think they're yellow, but back in the day they were blue. These little plastic egg-shaped toy containers that were inside the egg fitted perfectly a wine bottle cork inside. So I came up with this genius plan. They used to pull apart like this. Got a wine bottle cork, which meant you had to drink the bottle of wine. So, you know, double result really. Drink a bottle of wine, save the cork, get some very light line, like, I don't know, say £3, £4 line. Put about 20 foot of it, tie it onto the middle of the cork, wrap it round the cork, and then tie it on a 2 ounce lead. And then put the cork inside the two halves of the egg and snap them shut. And that used to trap the line so it wouldn't fall out. So when you find a spot, you just simply open the egg. I used to hold the cork on my sort of crooked fingers with the line and just hold it above the surface of the water and let it spin, donk until the lead hits the bottom. Then you get the two halves of the egg, snap it over the cork, and leave it out there. So within a short period of time, Wraysbury was covered in these bloody things. Everywhere you looked, there was little tiny blue plastic eggs dotting about. They never blew away, they never snapped off, they just marked your spots perfectly. So during this period of crappy weather, I did a lot of mapping out of Wraysbury and left a lot of these little Kinder Eggs surprise blue things all over the lake. So like I say, we had, I don't know, 4, maybe even 5 weeks of this big pressure system coming through, big southwesterly winds. And I do mean big, some of the winds as well. I remember one day I set out from the Douglas Lane and I was headed, if you come out the Douglas Lane and you go straight ahead across the water in front of you, you come into the Dredger Bay, but from the back. Actually got a nice picture of this taken from a drone. I'll see if I can find it. But you come across and you've got like the end of the end of 2 islands, and then off to the left is the sailing club. And so what you're faced with is 2 channels opposite you that lead into the Dredger Bay. It's 2 of the 4 channels that make up this sort of crossroads right in the middle of the lake. And it was quite a good area to fish actually from the Route Nightmare, which is in the Douglas Lane, or Douglas Lane car park. And you could fish into the ends of these channels, and the right hand channel had a lot of snags in there, and the fish used to love it in there. You couldn't actually get at them from anywhere, which is why they loved it. It was like a little safe zone right in the middle of the lake. So I rolled up one morning, loaded up the boat, and the wind was howling across sort of from left to right, and I wanted to go across up these channels into the Dredger Bay. That's where I decided I was going to get. I'd got about 40 yards, 50 yards out in the lake, I suppose, just one paddle, just paddling like that, all the gear in there. Although the boat was stable, it weren't too good in the wind. You just get blown about a bit. Next thing I know, this massive gust of wind come down, huge, just flattened the waves. It was so strong, came woof, and it hit the side of the boat and started pushing me. I've gone sideways. I must have gone, well, I ended up hitting the bank down on the railway bank. That's got to be 200 yards. I went flying past Douglas Lane Point. Must have been doing about 30 knots sideways as I went past there, and then started spinning and just crashed into the bank down in what we called the Doctor's Swim. And the boat was just rocking like this up against the bank with the waves pounding in. I ended up fishing there for 24. I didn't even want to fish there, but I fished there for 24 hours because I couldn't get out. I thought, this is it, maybe it's fate, but it wasn't. I blanked. But we suffered this, like I say, for 4 or 5 weeks. This absolute rubbish weather. And then it went like that. The pressure system went through, the winds the wind stopped, and the sun came out, and that was the start of weeks and weeks and weeks of hot. It just got hotter and hotter and hotter. It was beautiful after that. So I suppose that must have been sometime towards the end of May, maybe even June, but let's say the end of May, and that would have been 95. Yeah, something like that. And it was hot. Beautiful, beautiful weather. So I stashed the boat. I used to leave the boat stashed up in various bushes around. The shooters didn't mind. He knew that I knew all the safe places. So I'd stashed the boat up, got this beautiful weather, and thought I'm going to go back to doing it old style. I'm going to start walking the pit. Stalking rod in hand, a little bag of bits, just me and the dog. So we're walking around the pit. Done the big circuit, and we've come out on the end of the peninsula. Now, like I said, the peninsula's got the Dredger Bay on the end, but just before you get to the Dredger Bay, so you're still by the North Lake, there's what we used to call the pillbox. It wasn't actually a pillbox as such, but it was similar, one of these big concrete slabs right up high above the water. It's gone now. There's a lovely decking area there now, but it's in exactly the same spot, so you still get the same view now that you used to get from this decking area. So I climbed up on this pillbox, and it's right in the sort of mouth of the channel that goes through into the Finger Bays and the Dredger Bay. So it's right in the corner of the North Lake. And there's a very, very shallow bit there, right in the margins, and then it slopes down slowly. And you can see it, stood from that elevated position, you can see all the stones and bits of weed. You can see it going away and the watercolour changing as it gets deeper, and then it just disappears into, 16, 17 foot of water or whatever. It just goes away and away and away into nothing, into the abyss. And I'm stood up there having a fag and beer or whatever, a little bit of stalking gear, just looking out across the lake. And I see 4 fish coming, and they've come in from the diving board, which is down to my left, and they've come along, waddling along the margins, and then they've come up on this shallow bit in front of me. I'm watching them and I'm thinking, they're come right up, back creasing the surface. First one of the group of 4 is the pug. And I'm like, oh, I've been waiting for you, got 2 scores to settle with you. I've missed out on a chance of you, and then I bloody hooked and lost you. Definitely, my name's on that one. So I got a few floaters out, fired a few floaters out, and they've turned straight away, and they've come up and they've gone bump, 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 had about 4, 5, 6 of them, turned around and started getting, before I can get the rod set up, they've just drifted off. There's still bait there. That was very, very short-lived, so put the rod back down, sat there scratching my head. And out about 100 yards or so is the main island in that corner of the lake, and it's got a little tiny dot island next to it, tiny. And I've watched them, and I can see them just under the surface, and they've gone all the way out, round the dot island and round the back of the main island, and I assumed they were probably going to Sunnymeads. I was just about to leave, and all 4 of them reappeared around this side of the island, in front of the diving board, and came straight back. I mean, that's a big circuit, it's 100 yards out that way and 40, 50 yards around the back and 100 yards back, so it's a big old circuit. And they come straight back in on a beeline, so I fired out some mixers before they got there, come in, gone bump, 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 taken a few mixers and then gone off the back of the island. I thought, I've got you lot sussed, you're coming back, I know you are. So I've rigged everything up, plopped it out there with the old Wraysbury stick and got it in position first while there's no fish about. Sure enough, they've come back round the island, come back in like that. As soon as they've copped to the bait, they've started taking it. I can see the pug. The pug's on my side of the group. The pug's closest to the Wraysbury stick controller. I thought, this is it. This is a chance, like a proper chance we've got here. And he's gone underneath. He, hasn't tried to take the stick like Olive did. He's gone underneath, bump, 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 and then he's come round from the back. Now, if you do a lot of floater fishing, you'll know there's angles. There's angles where you're going to get a bite, and there's angles where you're going to spook the fish. To get a bite, you want the fish coming from the back of the bait, so that all your line, your controller, because a lot of that line, don't forget your hook link is going to be sunk below the surface. It might look perfect to you, but when they're looking up, it's all silhouetted with a bit of line hanging down. If the first thing they hit is the bait as they're coming back towards the rod, if you like, then you're going to get a bite. If they come from the other way and they're coming up with the line and everything over their head, then you're not going to get a bite. And even if they come up for it, quite often they'll hit the line and they'll spook. But this fish, pug, is coming in from the absolute perfect angle at speed. He didn't know there was anything wrong. He didn't know I was there. It's bang on, absolutely bang on for a bite. So he comes straight up, dropped his tail, put his head up, tilted right up like that, and gone for the bait. But in his sort of haste to get the bait's just behind his nose, so he's coming a little bit too far towards me. And he's come up, and he can sort of see it above his head, but it's not in his sort of, he can't suck it in, he can't get at it, it's too far above his top lip. So he started with his pecs like this, and he's backpedaling. He's trying to go backwards, and carp aren't very good at going backwards when they're upright. And he's trying to go backwards to get this bait, and he can't quite get it, but he really wants it. So he's given up, dropped down, done a very tight circle, and come up again for it. He's going to have it, but he's come from my side, and as he's come up with his gob open, he's touched the line 2 inches shy of the bait, and just erupted on the surface and gone woof out behind the island and just kept going down the North Lake. And I was just like, what have I got to do to catch this fish, I became a little bit obsessed with him. I thought, I'm going to catch him. I know I'm going to catch him eventually, but Christ, he's making hard work of it for me. He really is getting away with it. I mean, that's, 3 decent opportunities that I've screwed up, basically, all for the pug. But one day I was going to get him. The following week down the lake, we've got a bit of a treat lined up. It was Phil's birthday. It's still scorching hot. Like I said, it was a long period of hotness. And we decided we were going to all go out on the piss, which wasn't that unusual, I know. But we were going to go by train to Windsor, because Phil was actually born in Windsor. So we thought it would be perfect, really. back to the town of his birth. So we'd all set up in places where it wasn't too far to walk to Wraysbury train station. Now, me and Tench Bloke had gone down in the bottom of Bryant's Bay. And although we were going to leave our gear, it was a bit dubious to leave your gear. Being in Bryant's Bay, we're right in front we set up in front of the bottom houses. It's a strange setup in Bryant's Bay. One side is flanked by the houses in the Douglas Lane, which some, not all, some of them, a bit of aggro with, not aggro, but if something went missing, it might well end up in the Douglas Lane, put it that way. The houses at the bottom were really posh ones with a little stream that separated them from the lake, and one of those little sort of ornamental bridges and that. So we set up down the posh end of the bay, if you like. We had Tench Bloke had a little dome tent, and I had my brolly thing. Set up our gear, and I think we stashed the rods in the bushes halfway up Bryant's Point. I can't remember exactly where Phil went. He might have gone up on the end of Bryant's Point, but we all set up down this end, because all we had to do was come out the back, cross the football pitch, ignore the pub, walk up the road and get on a train, and we was all going off to Wraysbury, which is exactly what, not Wraysbury, sorry, we were going off to Windsor from Wraysbury station, which is exactly what we did. With the dog, we had Fat Sam as well. So we got on the train and we've gone off to Windsor, and I'd like to tell you everything that happened that night in Windsor. I can't remember any of it. I really can't. We couldn't make up our mind which pub we were going to go in, so we went in all of them. Well, all of them had allowed the dog in anyway. I do remember that there was quite a few of us at one stage, and Phil got quite frustrated trying to keep everyone together. It was like herding chickens, because, I don't know, like Tetley and someone else would be wanting to go in that pub, and we wanted to stay in this pub, and someone else wouldn't have finished drinking in the last pub. We got quite fragmented, and we got very, very drunk. And somehow we got home, and I can't remember getting home at all. But I do remember coming across the football pitch, me and Tench Bloke staggering about all over the place, following Fat Sam. It was pitch black, God knows what time of night it was. Now Sam, although quite a dark dog, had this massive basil brush tail, this big fluffy tail, and it was white, sort of pale on the underside, so as long as she was happy, you could follow her. Just follow this flag waving. And I remember following her through this. As you come out the football pitch, there was a small path, and it was very overgrown and hence very, very dark. And we were just following along this path. And at one stage, she turned right and I turned right, and Tench Bloke turned right following me. And then we all bashed into each other. We were just in the bushes. She'd just gone in for a sniff or whatever, and we just followed her into the stinging nettles. Anyway, we got her back out and sent her off on her way. And sure enough, she's emerged into the right spot. She was a clever dog. She knew where she was going. We've emerged into the bottom of the bay. Dragged the rods out of the bushes and just chucked them in. Plop, 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 plop. Both gone to bed. Tench Bloke's gone in his little dome. I've heard him zip up his mozzie door. I've got under my brolly. Fat Sam's got in the back. Gone to sleep. Job done. Both absolutely like they're spinning out, to await the morning. Next thing I know, I'm woken up by a screaming bite alarm, and it's not mine. So I sort of staggered out of bed, and I've looked down, we're only a few yards apart, and I've looked down the bank, and there's Tench Bloke bent into a fish. How? God knows. Like I say, proper pub chucks. He looked rough as guts, he really did. I've gone along there. He was white, absolutely white, totally hungover, hanging on to this fish, giving it, I've got one. And it's proper rowing this fish. It's going up the margins, round to the right, past my swim. It's just, beating him up senseless. I've looked round at his bivvy and wished I hadn't. I was like, oh no. I said, Tench Bloke, what have you done? And he said, I was a bit ill in the night. I said, a bit ill? He'd woken up in the night and was sick, which is fair enough. It's not the end of the world. And he was sick out of his bivvy, which also would not be the end of the world. But what was the end of the world is he hadn't undone the mesh door. Mesh doors at night look like they're not there. You can just see straight through them. But sick can't go straight through them. Only the very, very small bits and the wet bits. So he'd basically sieved his sick. So all the lumpy bits and the carrots were inside the bivvy. and all of the squirty stuff was outside the bivvy, and most of it was still hanging in the net. It was absolutely disgusting. I took one look, I was like, oh, tench bloke, you're an animal. Anyway, he's playing this fish, and it's gone up the bay towards the Douglas Lane side. Now, most of the bay has been levelled by a Dutch bloke, the guy who lives in the house. He's obsessed with chopping down trees and having bonfires. Absolutely obsessed with it. He's left one tree for some reason or another, and it sort of bent out over the water and then came back up again. And this fish has gone round the tree. Not in, there's no branches. Dutch blokes had everything off that he can. But it's gone round the tree and up the other side, and it's got stuck in something on the bottom. There's everything, in that bay. There's, trolleys and cars and scooters and all sorts of stuff's been chucked in there over the years. Anyway, this fish has got snagged. So for some strange reason, I don't know why I did it, but I offered to take the rod and swim it round the tree and then give it back to Tench bloke on the other side. Why I didn't get him to do it, I have absolutely no idea. Maybe he couldn't swim, I can't remember. But anyway, I stripped off, still hanging, got in the lake, swum round the tree, passed him out the rod, got back out, got dressed again, and we followed it round the bay. Now the line's come off the snag in the corner and then gone up the other side of the bay, all in the margins, towards the Douglas Lane car park. So we've walked up there, we've walked past Dutch bloke's garden. He's out in his garden by now. He's come out to see what all the fuss is about. He's come out and stood with us. And Tench bloke's playing this fish. And he's got it fairly close. It's sort of nearly under control. And then at the last minute, the rod's buckled over and it's just gone. It's going, it's stripping line off the clutch, and it's going and it's going and it's going. And it's going across the bay towards the point, towards Douglas Lane Point, towards Bryant's Point, and going and going and going. And it's gone donk, and it's absolutely solid. And he's tried everything. He's tried straight lining it, he's tried bouncing it, he's tried side strain, we've tried walking back round the bay and pulling it from the other way. There is no way this fish is coming out. So I said, don't pull, don't pull too hard. We don't want to lose it. It's still on the end. I'll run up only 100 yards into the car park in the Route Nightmare, Douglas Lane. I'll drive out the Douglas Lane. I'll drive round the lake, right out round the village, right round the other side, because I'd left the boat in one of the stash spots on the peninsula over near the Dredger Bay. I said, I'll get the boat, I'll row the boat across, and then we'll land the fish. So he said, yeah, would you? Yeah, no problem. So I've got in the motor, done all of this, got in the motor, driven all around the village, got round the other side. It's taken quite a long time. Parked them. Oh no, I got to the gates, the green gates, which were locked, but we had keys. And the green gates are the start of the Peninsula Road. I'd left my key in my bivvy. I was like, oh God, I ain't driving back. So I parked the car there. There's a pedestrian entrance. So me and Fat Sam have gone through the pedestrian entrance. I'm now 300 yards, 4 more, I don't know, a long way. This peninsula is a big, big peninsula. I've run all the way to the end of the peninsula, dragged the boat out from under the bushes. It's on the wrong side. It's on the North Lake side. I want to be on the South Lake side. And I thought, rather than row it all the way through the Dredger Bay, I'll put it on my head and carry it across the peninsula for another 50, 60 yards. A proper rowing boat. So I've got this thing sort of on my back, and I'm waddling along like a bloody oversized Ninja Turtle thing. I've got over to the South Lake, tipped the boat off, pushed the boat in. By now I'm absolutely knackered. I mean, I started this off hanging, and now I've done all of this, running and God knows what else. Swimming, been swimming. It's like triathlon, I've been swimming, I've been driving, I've been running, and I've been running with a boat on my head, like full-size rowing boat. So anyway, I got in there. I'm absolutely done. Me and the dog in there. And now I've got to paddle 500, 600 yards across the lake, right out in the middle, across the middle of the lake over to the far bay. So I'm in there and I'm paddling across, and I can see him just stood there holding the rod. And I'm thinking, you owe me some beer. You owe me a number 6 from the Chinese and a carrier bag full of beer for this. And I'm rowing over there. And eventually I got there. And I can breathe by now, I've had it. So I get in the boat. I said, you can row us out there, like pull us out there, but not row, like reel us out there and pull. So he's jumped in the boat, gone to the front and started reeling and pulling, and the boat started going. Dutch bloke's just still standing on the side, Fat Sam's with him by now. And we've gone out there and we've got about 2/3 of the way to the fish. And the line's going straight down. We can see what swirls out there where the fish is. And suddenly the line's gone pink and come off of whatever it was trapped on. And it's lifted up and it's gone straight out and the fish has started going again. And we've decided to go back to the bank rather than chase it with a boat. So we've gone back to the bank, both got out of the boat. So he's had this fish on for the best part of an hour by now. So he started playing this fish from the bank and it's all gone quite well. And it's come round in front of us on the first pass, you know, it's rod length, 2 rod lengths out. It's very deep off the back of Dutch bloke, it goes straight down, gin clear. And this bloody great common's come past. He's playing it like that and we've just seen this big old common go past and then turn, whoa, and then the line started going. On the second pass it's come round and it's come a lot closer and it's coming higher and higher. I said we're going to have it this time. So I'm in the front with the net. Sure enough, he's bent and it's lifted up and it broke the surface with its back and it's come towards us and I'm looking, I'm thinking, it don't look like a common anymore. Anyway, I got the net there and it slid in and it's this bloody great mirror carp. And we're like, we definitely saw a common. Even Dutch bloke saw a common. And then we saw the common go past the net. And because of the time of year, when one fish is going mental in the water, quite often another one, like probably a couple of weeks before spawning, joins it. So this common had been mirroring the mirror, if you like, you know, shadowing it all throughout this fight, probably for an hour. Anyway, it's gone in the net, pulled it out, it's a good fish, and we're looking at it, it's got this dark old back and these pale sides and a few scales, and we're looking and we're I'm not really sure which one that is. It's a mid-30. So we've assembled everything we needed and we've pulled it out on the mat, and as soon as it's gone flat on its side, I've looked, I've gone, oh my God, it's the bloody pug. The saga just goes on and on, you know. Not only have I been so close so many times, I'm now going to have to photograph it for Tench Bloke, you know. Me and this fish have got something going on. There's some sort of fate thing going on. One day I am going to catch it. I know this now. I think one day I am going to catch this bloody fish. But it was Tench Bloke's PB by a country mile, you know. He was a tench angler that dabbled with carp fishing, and now he'd got more into the carp fishing, really because of the social side, because we were all carp fishermen, so he just started carp fishing, really, so he could drink all our beer. And there he is with the pug, 36.5 pounds, I think it was. It was absolutely amazing. I've got some lovely photos of it. They are, unfortunately, all uprights, so I've tried to crop one on, because I've lost all my photo editing software. Well, not lost, but it's all on my old computer, so yeah, maybe lost. So using what little bit Harry's got, I've tried to crop it, so hopefully it will come up here. You know, you'll be able to see some of it anyway, let's put it that way. But yeah, the pug at 36.5 pounds, unbelievable really. And then he had to go back and sort out his bivvy, which was minging, absolutely minging. But he didn't care. He'd caught a PB carp and got rid of his hangover. So I'd like to say the following week we came back down end, but I'm not sure I went home. I'm not sure I was going home an awful lot by this stage. As soon as the sun came out, I sort of thought, well, that's me, you know. So let's just say some time passed, but not much. So after some time passed, me and Tench Bloke decided that we were going to find the fish. They'd moved out of Brian's Bay totally. And we went on the big old Wraysbury tour. So we both set off. We set off from the Douglas Lane, from the Route Nightmare. And we'd done a complete circuit of the lake. It was absolutely scorching hot, it was this day. And we've gone up and we've stopped at the off here and we've had a couple of early beers, ice creams, what have you. And we've done the whole circuit and we've got back to where we started and we haven't seen a single fish, which is unbelievable, you know. It's that hot. We thought it'd be all over the place, but we haven't seen a single fish. I say unbelievable, there's only about 20 odd of them in there, but we haven't found one of them. So we came up with a genius plan that we were going to walk in opposite directions to each other round the pit and meet up at the... We didn't have phones, so we couldn't phone each other and say, oh, they're over here, but we'd go all the way round, and the furthest point we figured from starting in the Douglas Lane was the NatWest Sailing Club on the North Lake. So we're at the bottom of the South Lake, and we're going to meet at the top of the North Lake, having done probably an hour and a half walk each, after having just done a 3-hour walk. I mean, in fact, the only break we had apart from the sailing club for a couple of beers, we ignored the pub, was when we came past Dutch Blokes. Tench Bloke didn't really like Dutch Bloke very much, so he didn't come in, but Dutch Bloke was in his garden and was calling us in, come in, have a cup of tea or whatever. And I went into Dutch Bloke's garden. Now, like I said, it was very hot at this time, and the grass had suffered everywhere. In fact, there wasn't much green around Wraysbury. It was all scorched, so very pale, sort of yellowy grass, apart from Dutch Bloke's. Now, Dutch Bloke's garden was in a row of, say, 15 different back gardens, which were all parched. Dutch Bloke's bright green, and there was a bib of green grass coming out the bottom of his fence, out onto the lake, where it was so well irrigated. And I was quite interested to find out how, why, you know. So I stopped in for a cup of tea while Tench Bloke did whatever he did. Sat in his garden. I said, how come your grass is green, Dutch Bloke, then? He said, I had a plan. So in the winter, he dug up all his flower beds, the whole lot, quite deep, you know, sort of 6 foot deep. And he'd laid pipes all the way around his garden, and then he dug trenches across and he'd laid pipes across. So he'd irrigated his garden. These pipes had millions of little holes in. He'd then connected them up to a much, much bigger pipe, and he dug round the side of his house up the alleyway, and he'd connected the bigger pipe to the water mains the other side of his water meter in the street. Crafty. So basically the council will water in his garden for him on a permanent basis. I think he had a stopcock, he just turned it on. And it was lush. His garden was absolutely lush. And like I say, this big green bib that went down to the lake outside. Big sort of semicircle of lush grass. Everything else was dead as far as you could see. I mean, it was such a giveaway, but he didn't care, Dutch Bloke. He didn't care about anything, actually, to be honest. Where was I? Not talking about Dutch Bloke. Walking around the lake. So we decided we're going to do this semi-walk each. So Tench Bloke's gone off, back round Bryant's, round the football pitch, round the swimming pool, and round No Carp Bay. Onto the peninsula, he's going to meet me up the top. I've done the other one. I've done the railway bank all the way up there through Sunnymeads, because I sort of fancied it was warm enough. I thought they're going to be in Sunnymeads. So yeah, that's the one I wanted to look at. So I've walked around there. I've also done all the finger bays and that. So quite a lot of time has passed. I thought he's bound to be around there by now, because I had done the longer one, but the more intricate one, if you like, a lot more trees to climb. Tench Bloke didn't do climbing trees, by the way. He wasn't that agile. In fact, I don't think I ever saw him up a tree. But I did every tree all the way round, so I knew he'd be sat on the lawn waiting for me. So anyway, I got round there, no one on the lawn. NatWest Sailing Club lawn, no one. There was like a jetty down the bottom where they launched their sailing boats, and normally I'd see him sat there with his Maxima cap and his black joggers, you know, just sat on the edge of the water waiting, but he weren't there. Well, that's odd, you know, he can't have taken that long. So I've wandered just across the grass into the offie, got a couple of beers, sat there drinking my beer, waiting. No Tench Bloke. Had another beer, still no Tench Bloke. Thought something's happened here. So packed all my bits, rubbish and everything into a bag, got me a Fat Sam, and walked out. And I got to the end of the peninsula. I thought, am I going to walk all the way up to the Dredger Bay? I thought, yeah, it's unlikely he's just sat up there, so I'll have a little look round in No Carp Bay first. Now, No Carp Bay was called No Carp Bay for a reason. We'd never seen a fish in it. I think it was originally called No Carp Bay. It did actually look bloody beautiful this day, because the wind that was blowing, because although it was hot, there was a lovely warm breeze coming in, was going straight into the bottom of No Carp Bay, and it had been, that makes it also go into where I'd been sat in the sailing club. So that side of the lake, if you like, top end of the lake, looked beautiful. But we never gave No Carp Bay too much of a look, really. I mean, I think the name put us off a lot, and the fact that we'd not seen anything, and that it was well used by the locals. There's a swim there I think it's now called the Hooligan. We didn't call it that, but it was something similar. And it's where all the local sort of youth of today used to go. Well, and families actually, you know, lots of families that used to go and swim. And I mean, I've seen them floating sofas out there, you know, like proper out your front room, trying to take them out, their old ones, as beach toys. All sorts went on in this, the drive-in we used to call it. Yeah, it's now called the Hooligan. We used to call it the drive-in because you used to be able to drive straight into it. And that was part of No Carp Bay. And then No Carp Bay, from this the Hooligan stroke drive-in, went round the bottom, and there were some big old houses that backed onto it, and it left quite a big lawn behind. There was like their fence, their back fence, then a little woods, only 20 foot wide, this little woods, and then there was a big area of lawn that went out in a tiny point. We used to call it the round point because it was just a little curve that came out, and that was a lovely lawn there. It was all scorched white at the moment, it was all dead, and then you go round the back. There was nothing around the back, and then until you get to Mary's Point, which is a little tiny point right on the corner from the swimming pool to No Carp. Very, very famous swim. But No Carp Bay, like I say, generally we walk straight past it. So I've cut across the grass and started walking down this big scorched lawn. And I can see Tench Bloke. And he sat on the round point right at the bottom of No Carp Bay. And I thought, what the hell is he doing? And as I've got closer and looked, he's got rods. I think he's fishing at the bottom of No Carp Bay. Nobody fishes in No Carp Bay. So I've gone up and said, what bloody hell are you doing? He said, oh mate, he said, I've seen 6 jump already. He said, just down here, right close in, and you know, between nothing and 50, 60 yards out. I said, you're joking, in No Carp Bay? He said, yeah, I know. I said, you've been up the tree for a look? And next, it's not even a swim, it's a gap where it is. It's a sort of an old swim that's grown over a bit. And on the right-hand side of it, forming the right-hand side of it, is this tree. It is massive. I mean, it must be, I don't know, 40 foot, but it's huge. It's dead straight like that. It's enormous with these little tiny branches coming out of it. He said, I ain't getting up there. I said, do you mind if I do? He said, no, crack on. So anyway, I've gone up this tree. I've gone up and up. I've gone about 30 foot up the tree. And I've looked down and I can see all of No Carp Bay. I can see quite a lot of the bottom. It's very, very deep, No Carp Bay, but it's got a lot of huge features, big areas that come up to, I don't know, say 12, 13 foot, and then it goes down to 18 foot. It's, you know, it's very varied, No Carp Bay. So I'm looking down there. I can see fish straight away. I can see one there, a couple coming along here. Thought they're here, you know. When you see that many fish in one glance at Wraysbury, straight away you think they're probably all here, you know, or all the catchable ones. It's a big group of fish. You've only got 20 in the lake, so if you can see 6, 7, 8, 9 fish at a glance, then you're properly on them. Just to the left of where Tench Bloke's rod, I can see Tench Bloke's rods, they look tiny from that height, and him sat down there. Just to the left, round the corner of the bush, there was 3 or 4 more fish, and they were quite close in, like 20 yards out. And I could see the weed, and I could see the clear down there, like big clear strip it was. It was level with the round point. It was like another version of it. So it must have gone down the shelf, out, and then away. And the edge of this drop-off was all clear, and these fish were milling about by that. And I thought, that looks like a better spot than where he's fishing. So I come down the tree, got down. He said, can you see anything? I said, that depends, mate. I said, what do you mean it depends? I said, it depends on whether I can join you. He was like, yeah, crack on. So I'm going to have to cut a swim or something just down here. He said, yeah, I'll give you a hand. So got my rods. No, I had to, more running. I had to go back and get the gear. All his gear, apart from the 2 rods he'd taken with him. We always carried a couple of rods around with us. Apart from what we had in our hand, basically, everything else was still in the Douglas lane in our respective motors. So before I could start, I had to run to the Douglas lane or walk or whatever I was running to get his gear into my motor and bring both lots of gear around. So again, a proper mission. You know, we're as far away as we can get. And I've got to get right up there, then go out, drive around the village, remembering my key this time, right the way round, drive in the gates. But luckily at this stage, back then, if you crashed through a couple of bushes in the motor, you could drive into No Carp Bay. So that's exactly what I did. So about an hour later, I bumped in behind him. Parked up against the little woods at the back there. Chucked all the gear out on the floor and started rummaging around, getting bits and pieces together. Set up a couple of rods, broke these bushes apart, just enough, literally just enough to get my rods through. I didn't want to open it out because I didn't want to be seen by the fish. Set up my little brolly, just tucked in behind them, like so, perfectly hidden. It was beautiful. The tennis boat's only just here. He's only a few yards away, and he's fishing out what used to be the swim on the end. And then the rest of it is just this big yellowing dead lawn. So great for like social and that. Might even have a little fire later, whatever. It's just perfect. Picnic or whatever out on the lawn. But I know exactly where I wanted these rods. So I've gone up the tree and broken a load of little sticks before I've gone. And I'm throwing sticks out the tree until they've drifted into the perfect pattern where I think, right, the clear spot is just inside the back 2 sticks and just to the left of the bigger stick. So I've got down as quick as I can, plop, donk, the other one, plop, donk. What that do? That is absolutely bang smack on. Set the rods up, and we've just sat back and chilled really. Fish, occasional fish is still showing. I've seen them when I was up the tree. They're out there. They're in a new area, somewhere we've never fished in No Carp Bay. It was proper exciting, and we were very, very confident that something was going to happen. So we sat there all afternoon, got some beers, probably got a Chinese, same old Wraysbury story, Night came, night went, day came, still no bites, still the odd fish showing. Thought, it's ain't as easy as it looks. Maybe this is why it's called No Carp Bay. It should be called No Bite Bay. Anyway, about 10 o'clock in the morning, I think it was, by which time it was hot. We had a couple of visitors. The Hun came down to see us. See, I said he'd crop up. So the Huns come along, and one of Phil's mates, John Cross, they come wandering down together around the back of No Carp Bay, like, what the hell are you doing in No Carp Bay? Except we'd seen fish and that. So anyway, they parked their asses down there, and we got the kettle out. We're sitting there drinking tea and just chatting and chilling and having a lovely time. And I suddenly got the urge, when you get the old 5p, 50p, I thought, I've got to be in those woods right now. So I said, keep an eye on my gear. I need all the rods. I've got to have a little visit. So I've gone in the bushes with my bucket and my roll of Andrex, broke a branch, made a little toilet roll holder, made myself all comfy. Don't worry, I'm not going to go into too much detail. Trousers down, sat on the bucket, screaming run, and I've just heard whooping and hollering and cheering and whatever. It's obviously mine. So I come running out the bushes, haven't even started my business, trousers around my ankles, trying to pull them up as I go, and they're all jeering and cheering and whee! One of mine is absolutely in meltdown. The spool is just a blur. It's going and going and going and going. So I've hooked into this fish, and it's just kept on going and going and going and going and going. It's stripped. I mean, I've only hooked it close in, 20 odd yards, whatever. I reckon it was 90 yards out before I stopped it. And I could feel it going through stuff as well, through weed and bits and pieces. Eventually I've managed to stop it. I've given it the big one. And right out there, like I say, about 90 yards out, a tail has come out of the water. And it's enormous, this tail. This great big double lobe like that. Just come right out the water and stayed out the water. And I've sussed it straight away. I thought it's gone through something. The line's on the bottom, trapped. It's gone through something and the line's coming up. Hence, when I've pulled, it's pulled the fish down like that. The line's going down and then 90 yards back to me. So I started walking backwards, just giving it steady pressure, and I felt like that as the line's come out of the weed, tightened down again, and he's on, direct contact. And he's ploughing about out there. It fought really well, this fish, proper fought. But eventually got it in close, and it's sort of doing the final circles, the pinwheels in front of me, getting out higher and higher and higher. And we can see it down there, it's clear. Everyone's at the front of the swim, and we can see it's gin clear, and it's dark, and it's like a big round dish, chocolate coloured, proper big mirror. And it's just going round and getting higher and higher and higher, and someone's gone in with the net. I can't remember who. Slid it in the net, and we just looked and went, wow, look at that. It was absolutely beautiful. Pulled him out, put him on the mat, and I've recognised it. I thought, it's Mallin's. It's the one that I wanted when I got my ticket. But it looks an awful lot, and I've already caught it, unfortunately. It was my first fish. But it looks a lot bigger than 36. It looks quite a bit bigger than 36. It looked glorious, to be honest, this fish. It got really dark. So we popped it up on the scales, and it was 39 pounds and 15 ounces. So 1 ounce short of 40 pounds, this fish. after having Mary 1 ounce short of 50 pound, I've now got another one 1 ounce short of 40 pounds. Check the scales, and yep, it is. It's 39 pound 15 ounces. And we got him up there, had a good look at him, popped him in a sack, and a lot of people turned up. I don't know how they knew. Keith, all the lot from Horton. Maybe I drove over there. I think I might have drove over there for some reason or another. Probably just to brag that I'd caught one, or get a photographer, or maybe I didn't have any film in the camera. I can't remember. There was a reason that all these other people were there. But I know when we photographed it, there was loads of people there. You know, like lots. All the Horton crew had come over. It was a lovely, like I say, beautiful sunny day. We photographed this fish. Looked absolutely amazing. Slid it back, and everyone just stayed in my swim for an hour or two, drinking all my tea, drinking my beer, eating whatever I had to eat, which wasn't an awful lot, to be honest. And one by one, they all drifted off, and everyone went away until there was just me and Tench Bloke left. And I remember it was sort of, I don't know, it wasn't an awful lot later, maybe, you know, after everyone had gone. Probably the first thing I did was go back up the tree. But I remember being up the tree and looking out there and thinking, it's all changed. Not only was the wind not coming straight in anymore, it only changed a few degrees. Just gone round from sort of, what would that have been, from a westerly to a southwesterly. So it was still coming in, but to the left, and it got quite a lot stronger as well. But from what I could see through the ripples and the waves and that, was no fish. Couldn't see a single fish. Fit where I'd been seeing fish before. And I'm not surprised, I looked one. And there was this slight change in the wind. So I came to a big decision. I decided I was going to pack up and move. Yeah, even though I just caught a near 40 pounder, and it still looked good. I just got this feeling. Sometimes you get it, don't you? I just thought, they've gone. You know, these fish have left. I packed it all up, chucked it in the motor, left Tench Bloke with all of it. No, I think I took some of Tench Bloke's stuff, because he said he was going to move as well. He said, where are you going? I said, I don't know. I said, I'm going to go round and have a look in the Dredger Bay, because if the wind's changed, it's going to be going through that Dredger Bay. Maybe they've just backed off a little bit and they're going through the Dredger Bay. I said, I was going to take it from there. The Hun was fishing right down in Sunny Meads. He'd seen nothing. So I had a few things to go on. But anyway, so I've gone round the Dredger Bay. As soon as I stood in there, I thought, it don't look right. The wind's pumping in from sort of where I'd been, coming straight in, going through the Dredger Bay and going straight up the channels into what it looked like the Finger Bays. So I thought, I'm going to go. So I walked around the other side of the peninsula to look across to the Finger Bays. Some wind was going up the Finger Bays, but most of it was coming through into the North Lake from where I'd nearly hooked the pug on the floater into that corner, the bottom corner, the pillbox corner. So I've walked around and I've stood on the pillbox, and the wind's now coming from, it's picking up all the time, and it's coming from behind me, and it's going straight up the North Lake to where the Hun's fishing in Sunny Meads corner, and then you've got the bus stop, which is next door, the only other swim up there, which was empty. It was a bit of a long shout, really, for the fish to leave No Carp Bay, come out of No Carp Bay, go through the Dredger Bay, back through the gap into the North Lake, and follow the wind all the way up that end, you know, in the time that it took me to do exactly the same by car and walk, and, you know, combination of the two. But I just thought, they've got, you know, they're going to do it. They're going to end up there, even if it's tomorrow or whatever. It just looked perfect for it. So I come back out, I said to Tench Bloke, that's where I'm going. He's put the rest of his gear in the motor, and we've driven round to the NatWest Sailing Club. I've grabbed mine, left him sorting out his, and I'm away. So I've shot down there, and I've come round the corner, walked down, come round the corner past the Hun who sat in Sunny Meads. And he's scratching his head. He said, you know, what are you doing? You know, you've just caught Malins half a mile away or more, and you packed up and you're coming around here, and I haven't even seen a fish. I said, yeah, but look at it. It looks perfect. It was proper lapping in now. I said, I'm going to go next door in the bus stop. He said, yeah, go on, crack on. So anyway, I've gone next door in the bus stop. And now I'm stood there, and I'm looking out all the way along the North Lake. I've got a little dot island about 80, 90 yards in front of me. To my left, I've got the Cigar Island, which is a long, thin island, and a tiny channel up between my bank where I'm sitting, all snaggy, and this, what we call the Cigar Island. and some bushes round to my right, and sunny meads further round to my right, and I've got this weather rolling in, you know, proper. You can, like being at the beach, you can hear it coming up and sucking back. Beautiful. So I've got my 2 rods, my 2 little leads on, and I'll flick one up the left towards the channel behind the cigar island, but only a few yards, and I'll flick one up the right. I thought if they're coming, they're going to come all the way. Set up the rods in front of me, lines going out, not Queen's legs, and just sat back on the grass and thought, this looks absolutely banging. About 2 minutes later, the left-hand rod's just gone whack, hoop right round, zzz, going. I've hooked into this fish. The Huns wandered in, Tench blokes wandered in, because the Tench blokes walked past this swim and they've both walked up just to see what's going on. I've hooked into this fish and it's flat rodded me. It's come out, instead of going up the channel, which is what I was scared about, it's come out past the cigar island. It's gone right out towards this little dot island out there. It's nearly up against the island and it's very shallow off the edges of this island. So he's out there plodding about by this island. I'm thinking, Jesus Christ, you know, that's done 80 yards off me in one go. Proper fast, rowing fish. Anyway, we've looked up on the sailing club. There's some loon setting up I can't remember whether it was a windsurfy thing or a yacht. I think it was a yacht. He's obviously seen the weather coming in and thought, I'll have some of that. So he's setting off from the sailing club in a yacht. I know he's coming my way. There's no choice but to come my way in the wind. I've got 80 yards of line. Most of it's out of the water because the fish has come up the shallow slope on the side of the island. And I've got this, and he's coming down. I said, that can't happen. If he comes down here, he's going through my line. Because this island was their roundabout. We'd seen them 1,000 times. They come down, they go round the island, the boaters, and back up. Round the big island, that's what they do, up, down, up and down, up and down. So he's coming at a rate of knots. Tench bloke and the Hun are jumping up and down and screaming and shouting and swearing and abusing him and everything, you know, and I've joined in, hollering and hollering. He's taken one look and thought, I ain't having none of that, and he's just done a Yui on a sixpence, cut round and gone back up the other end of the lake. We're like, thank God for that. Anyway, I've managed to pump this fish back in. The Huns climbed this little tree on the side of my swim, and I've got it quite easily, got it all the way back in, right down into the margins, and it's sort of swirling about in the margins, but still fairly deep down, and starting to get it a bit higher. And then he shouted, he can see from up there. He said, it's Mary's mate. And I'm like, oh God. With that, it's gone and gone, and it's off up the right-hand margins, all the way along the bushes towards Sunnymead's corner where his rods are. It's quite a way, but it's going at a rate. I've managed to slow it down, turned it, got it back, plunged the rod tip. I thought any minute now I'm going to feel ping, 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 ping on a bush, and donk, it's gone. It's right under the bank. And I've just kept pumping, kept the rod down, pumping and pumping and pumping. And it's popped up in front of us. It's done a couple of swirls, Tench blokes grabbed the net and bosh, in it's gone, Mary's mate. As simple as that. I mean, complicated fight, but the bite, I'd been there minutes. Now I'll swear, right, that fish was in No Carp Bay when I don't know about when I hooked the fish, when I set up in No Carp Bay, that fish was there. Yeah, he's one of the gang. And in fact, Mary's mate and Malin's, Mary's mate should be called Malin's mate, because they get caught together as a brace so often. You know, they're always together. They are part of Mary's gang, but those two are proper mates. I mean, I'd just call them as a brace if you like, but half a mile apart. And what a fish. What a absolute stunning carp Mary's mate is. It's the cream of the crop, really, you know. It is one of the best looking carp you'll see. It's a proper old Colne Valley classic. Yeah, you're going to be looking at a photo probably now. It's monstrously long, those big linear scales, the dark. It's just everything you could possibly hope for in a carp. It was amazing, you know. Last time Phil had had it, last time it had been out was when Phil had it. It was over £40. So we got the scales, got it on the mat and everything. We're all just like completely blown away with it. Popped it up on the scales, an ounce lighter than the other one. 39 pounds, 13 ounces, 14 ounces, whatever, around that. I think this one was 2 ounces under 40 and the other one was 1 ounce under 40. But what, you know, in a day, in a morning, just from that far apart on a massive lake like that. And I swear they were together at one stage up the other end. Just stunning, absolutely stunning carp. What a day that was. Yeah, I'll tell you what, that took some celebrating, that did. Oh my God. I didn't have any more. I mean, I sat there, I thought, if all of those fish have left from up there and all come, you know, Mary's mates there, the rest of the gang are around. The weather was perfect, brand new wind, had a bite within minutes of being in the swim. You know, I didn't need to catch any more. You know, I'd caught 2 39-pounders. I needed nothing else, you know, but you always want another one, don't you? And I was quite convinced that there was going to be more along, to be honest, but it wasn't the case. But it didn't matter. That was a session I will never, ever forget. But there you are. When your luck's in, isn't it? Rubber the green and all of that. Anyway, I think that nicely concludes today's episode. Gets us to the end, apart from, obviously, the obligatory book ad, which is going to come up here. As I said before, Flick of the Tail. I've still got copies left, but it is slowly getting towards the end of Flick of the Tail. They're all on the offer, all on the website, live links below. Everything you need, really. So, you know the drill. Till next time, stay in, stay safe, stay whatever, stay sober. No chance of that, is there? And I'll see you next time. Ta-da.